Hey guys, Dr. Dex here. Today we're going to compare two circular saws for you. One's made by Hitachi, which is now Metabo HPT, and one is made by DeWalt. They're both corded, which is kind of old school. On our job site, we use mostly cordless tools nowadays. We just thought, you know, these are some older saws that you might be able to find at one of the home centers, and you know, if you're curious about how they work or the power out from them or something like that, check out this video. And also, please don't forget to click that subscribe button. We would really appreciate it. All right, so what we have here is an old Hitachi, which is now Metabo HPT. So instead of saying Hitachi, you might go, if you go to buy this saw at a Lowe's home improvement store, it's probably now labeled Metabo HPT. And then we also have a DeWalt, which doesn't have a blade on it. What I thought we could do was we'll just take this Hitachi blade off this saw and we'll put it on the DeWalt saw and we'll see how it acts, okay? So just so you know, like I said earlier in this video, both of these saws are plug-in type saws. You have to have power to run both these saws. So I just have them plugged into a three-way so that we can run them both at the same time and not have to keep playing musical chords. I also have a piece of pressure treated hemlock right here that we're just going to cut into to kind of show you guys the possibilities of these saws. We can cross cut and rip with it. This Hitachi, the model number is C7WDM. It's a 7¼ inch worm drive circular saw. Now, I've called some of my cordless saws worm drive saws, and I've had a really nasty backlash from some of the subscribers. And that's because, oh, it's a hypoid saw, or it's a gear-driven saw, or it's a direct drive saw. What it says right here, now this saw is made in Japan, so it's a higher quality saw. This saw does take gear oil. So you can see right on the side, it says oil. So after a while, you have to take this nut off, and there's gear lube that you can buy that helps lubricate the gears when you run this saw. If you run it a lot, you're gonna have to do that more frequently than if you're just using it occasionally. This saw I use occasionally. It also has a rafter hook, which is kind of cool. It also has an onboard tool for blade changes, which I really like. Unfortunately, this saw I did not see one. Doesn't mean it doesn't come with one, but the DeWalt didn't have one, so that's, to me, is a little bit of a negative. I don't know the actual weight of these saws. Let's pick them up really quick. They're about the same weight. I got a weak wrist on this side, but you know, they seem pretty similar in weight. They both have some numbers on the side of the plate. This one has a magnesium plate. Yep, this one's magnesium as well. So they both have magnesium base plates, which is kind of cool. And they also have adapters for parts that you can put in, slide in and out when if you have a lot of ripping to do and you want to rip plywood or equal amount off of the edge of a board. You can slide a track in here and you can adjust it and cinch it down, and then you'd be able to rip different widths with it as well. Okay, this saw is brushed. This saw is also brushed. They both have brushes, so they're not brushless saws. So those will also need some maintenance in the future. All right, so they also seem to be about the same size. Very similar in size. They both have a front locking bolt for the base plate to turn. So if you need to turn this onto a certain angle, this one goes up to a 53-degree angle, which is kind of nice. So it locks at 45. And then you would take this and move this out of the way, this little lever, and then you can actually go up to 53, which I really like. I don't know how many times I've tried to make a cut that was over 45 degrees and I didn't have that ability. And then you can lock it back in place, and then it gets you back to 45. So that's kind of nice. And it looks like, if I'm not mistaken, this right here, as well as this one right here, these are both so you can knock out your diamonds on your blades when you're doing a blade change. So that's kind of a nice feature as well, that you can use that to kind of pop the diamond out without warping your blades. And then there's also the depth gauge here. It's the thumb release. You can go up for storage, or if you want to make the ultimate depth of cut, you take that all the way down. And let's see what that is. This one's about 2.5. So we'll measure the DeWalt one in a minute. So you can cut through a full 2.5 inches of material. All right, let's see how she cuts. Oh, before we do this, always wear your safety glasses, guys, okay? And if you're so compelled, put some hearing protection on as well. All right, here we go. So that kind of bogged down a little bit, and we were cutting through a little bit of knots in this board. Let's make one more cut just to see, and this blade is dull. I don't think this is a really high quality blade. It probably came with the saw, but just to be fair, we're gonna use the same blade on both saws, and that way we'll know if they're both bogging out or what the deal is, or maybe it's just a crummy blade, and it is what it is. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna cut it again. That time it cut pretty good. I wasn't cutting through knots. Now I'm gonna go ahead and rip a line on it this way and see how we do. All right, and that seemed to cut pretty good. Ripped just fine. Okay, so now I'm gonna unplug this saw and take the blade off. I'm actually gonna unplug both saws, take the blade off, and try the DeWalt saw. There's a usually a locking mechanism like right here on this saw where when you spin the blade, it'll lock the blade in place. And then when you go to do a blade swap on this type of saw, to loosen it, oh, I didn't have it fully locked. Okay, now it's locked. To loosen it, you gotta go in reverse. So usually righty is loosey on a circular saw. The reason they do that is so that the blade always stays tight. All right, righty loosey. I know it's backwards, it's kind of weird, but it is what it is. So on this DeWalt saw, they're on the washer next to the nut, it even shows you, or next to the bolt, it even shows you which way to go for tightening and loosening for the blade, which is kind of handy in case you weren't sure. And then when you put your blade on, guys, you got to make sure it gets right on the diamond. Okay, like that, and make sure the blade is cutting the right direction. I've had guys bring me saws with brand new blades and they've been tightened down and installed like this, and that is not the way. The blade goes this way, it turns this way, so you always want the blade to be cutting in the proper direction, like so. Okay, then you put your washer on and it says, oh, tighten to the left. Okay, lefty tighty. Got it. And both of the nuts on both of these saws, the Hitachi and the DeWalt, they have a hex head for this, but they also have a Allen head in case you don't have one of these tools and you have a set of Allen wrenches, you can actually do it that way. So the locker for the blade on this saw is on top, and I pushed it in and it's locked, and now I can tighten the blade up. All right. All right. There we go. So here we go. Now we're going to cut with the DeWalt saw and see how it does compared to the Metabo HPT. That seemed like plenty of power. All right, let's see how she rips. Seems to rip just fine. Rips a pretty good straight line. Again, this is not my favorite blade for this saw, but it did the job. So I don't know. I think both these saws are viable saws to have around the house or on a job site. I think they would do just fine on our job site, except the fact that you have to plug them in and use a cord with them. The new cordless saws that are on the market are just as good or better, and they'll last on a battery charge almost all day. So, but as far as the corded version of these saws go, either of these would be fine for job site or home use. So there you go. Oh, the model number on the DeWalt is DWS535. It also has a rafter hook, and the depth of cut on this saw is also 2.5 inches. So very comparable on both of these saws. I wouldn't hesitate to use either one of them. It's probably why I have them in my shop. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like what you saw today, don't forget to click that subscribe button. Hit the bell icon to be notified when we're putting out new content. Don't forget to like our videos and comment below. I'll get back to you in a timely fashion whenever possible. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.